the Quality Assurance Manager with Institutional Effectiveness Directorate. Earlier today, there was a presentation by our director who talked a little bit about the Institutional Accreditation Project, the ADRI model. I'm going to touch on mostly about the alignment of the strategic plan to the standards and what typically happens in a site visit and what the review is all about and what they're looking for as review panels. So welcome to our afternoon presentation. Okay, so I'm going to get started. The NCQAA Institutional Accreditation, I'm going to cover some key topics today. We're going to talk about the institutional accreditation in general. What are the UDSC's accreditation milestones? This is a short video that I'm going to show you just to kind of keep it a little interactive. I want to give you a little bit of an understanding of what the external review consists of, how the on-site visits and interviews are conducted. And then, as I said before, I'm going to speak a little bit about our strategic plan and its alignment with the institutional accreditation standards and what faculty and staff engagement looks like, and how you as faculty can be more engaged in the process. Okay, I'm going to move on from this one, and we're going to talk about what NCQAA accreditation is about. So NCQAA, as you all know, is the National Committee for Qualifications and Academic Accreditation. It was established in 2022 by the Ministry of Education and Higher Education. And they are going to be doing a formal quality assurance process. For all universities in Qatar, it is mandatory for everyone to go through this accreditation process. So what does that actually mean for us? What does that mean for any university that's going through this accreditation process? What they're looking for is that every university has a mission that is aligned with the national priorities. Because we operate in the state of Qatar, we do have to align with the national priorities of the state of Qatar. That we have effective and strong governance and leadership at the institution that guides everything that we do, the decision-making, the major decision-making, and the governance structure of our institution. Ensures that we are offering high-quality teaching, learning, and student success, which I consider to be the bread and butter of our institution, the bread and butter of our institution. How we are teaching, what informs our teaching? What is learning to us, and how do we represent student success? What does that actually look like? What does student success look like? We also, what they're looking for institutions is how they support the community as it is appropriate to their mission. There's an additional standard in the NCQA standards which speaks specifically about stakeholder engagement and our impact as an institution on those stakeholders. So it's important for the NCQAA that every institution has research and community engagement that is appropriate to its mission. Maintains adequate resources, services, and infrastructure. If we don't have the resources, we don't have the infrastructure, that obviously will impact quality of our teaching, learning, and student success is also one of the areas that they're going to be looking at. And then demonstrating a robust culture of quality improvement and accountability. And that's kind of part of the closing the loop and that continuous improvement. So they know we're not stagnant, we're not, we're continuously developing and improving ourselves. Okay, so what is the value of having this accreditation, of going through this process? Well, it's a signal of quality first and foremost, because we are using locally developed and internationally benchmarked standards to provide credibility to the global community and to the local community as an institution. There's an opportunity for improvement. So by providing both the quality assurance to the public based on compliance, continuous quality improvement to the institution as well. There is a learning community that's going to be created out of among the educators about what quality assurance is and what institutional accreditation represents, and peer review. So it's a rich and diversified resource for quality enhancement using peer inquiry. So when we get reviewed, when we do have panel visits, they are colleagues from other institutions. There's a peer review aspect to it, a collegial aspect to it. Okay, the NCQA institutional accreditation model, as I said, and you probably heard in the previous session, there are 5 standards. And these standards form the house which we are currently developing in the self-study report. There's a foundation which is about formulating the institution's mission, organization, and ensuring our integrity. There's a governance structure. We describe that in detail in Standard 1. Standard 2 is about deploying the institutional resources, human capital, infrastructure, IT, etc., which will then inform our mission, delivering on our mission. Student success, teaching and learning, research and scholarly activities. Those are all covered in Standard 4. Standard 3 is about institutional planning and effectiveness. We do quality assurance, institutional effectiveness reports. We report on data governance. We report on program and cyclical reviews. Those are covered in Standard 3. And Standard 5, which is it's new for a lot of accrediting agencies, but really important for the state of Qatar and for the government, and that is making an impact on our stakeholders. What is our stakeholders' expectations? How are we meeting those, and what is the impact of those? So it's a really important standard for the NCQAA. Okay, as I said, 5 standards. In each of the standards, there are focus areas. Institutions are responding to those focus areas by writing narratives that answer review criteria. So really, the way the NCQAA has built these standards, when you are responding to a review criteria, you're also formulating a more detailed response to the focus areas that then will answer how the institution is addressing each of the standards. And there are 5 standards. In total, there are 48 review criteria. We are in the process of developing that self-study report and responding to those review criteria.
UDST's
little video for you.
Process milestones. UDST submitted its letter of intent to NCQAA in July 2024. The university is currently in the process of preparing the institutional self-study report, which is scheduled for submission in December 2025. Within 2 to 6 months after the NCQAA reviewers receive the complete ISSR, UDST anticipates the peer review site visit to take place in February or March 2026. The NCQAA accreditation decision is expected by October 2026, typically within 10 months of receiving the complete application, and no later than 3 months after the peer review report.
This is important because, as you can tell, we are in November. We are right in the thick of things. Our self-study report is going to be due in December. So we've got a lot of members within the community at UDST that are busy working on drafting that self-study report and finalizing it. And we are looking to submit in December. We hope to get a site visit sometime in February or March. That's going to be the next major milestone for us. So what is then the external review? What actually does an external review entail? Well, it is a comprehensive evaluation process that's conducted by an independent external expert. In this case, it's the NCQA, but it could be for program accreditation, it could be a professional accrediting body. Those are all external experts, independent experts that are going to be looking at and making an informed decision based on our practices. The external review includes assessment of various aspects of the university, which includes how, and it really is about how we are meeting our mission. How are we putting our mission into practice? And that's what they are going to be assessing, the various aspects of our institution and how it's informed by our mission. And the third part is on-site visit and interviews with stakeholders, which is an integral part of the external review process because it's going to formulate part of what we call triangulation. When we put evidence in the self-study report, the external reviewers will be looking to validate those evidences and those claims that we're making in the self-study report. So, details on a site visit. I'm not sure if any of you have been involved in program accreditation, but usually there is an external panel who comes to visit us. It is similar to institutional accreditation. Usually it's a 3-day visit. It's based on an agreed upon schedule, so there is a schedule that is agreed between the senior management of the institution and the NCQAA. There is also a pre-agreed list of interviewees that they're going to be interviewing during their visit, their 3-day visit. It is a very packed 3 days, I must say. And it validates the institution's self-study report, supported by evidence, as I said earlier. It's part of the triangulation process. And it's going to enable the team, the reviewing team, to gather the sufficient additional information and evidence about the institution to make an informed judgment, because they do actually have to make a judgment. At the end of the review team is going to make a recommendation to the NCQA on whether an institution should get initial accreditation or candidacy. So those are the kind of, or denial, actually. You could get denial. Yes, you have a question. So not many. We started, the actual NCQAA only launched in 2022. So we are actually one of the first institutions to be going through this institutional accreditation. So, who? No. Qatar University has accreditation from one of the regional accrediting bodies from the United States. It is, however, a mandate of NCQA that every institution in Qatar goes through this process. So I'm not 100% sure if they're actually going through the process right now, but everyone eventually will. I think, regardless of when we get it, the fact that we will be getting it is a great thing, yes. And we are going for full accreditation, so candidacy is not an option for us, which is why this is a really important project for us. Okay. Next. So who are they going to be interviewing? Well, obviously, the president, the deans, vice president, board of trustees, senior managers, academic. They're going to try and interview every type of stakeholder that we have at UDSD. And it's really important to get the perspectives from all of these different stakeholders, because we are living examples. We're best practices at the institution, and this is a way that they can account for those by asking those questions, asking the stakeholders, how do you do this? How you claim something in the self-study report. How do you substantiate it? So these are the interviewee stakeholders that they're going to be looking to speak to. Why do they do the interviewing? Well, number one, we're going to be making some claims in our institutional self-study report. So they're going to want to come in and clarify any institutional claims. If we're saying we are #1 research institution in Qatar, they're going to want to check that and make sure that we are indeed doing what we're saying we're doing. Number two, validate the evidence and lived experiences and practices. So basically, you say you have, give me an example. You say you have research centers. Where are they? What do they do? Well, what colleges are they affiliated with, etc. So this is part of the lived practices. When we make claims in the self-study report, they're going to want to validate those. And, of course, explore stakeholder perspectives, not only the ones that are at the institution, but those external, such as our alumni, those that have gone through learning at UDSD, or employers, for example, those that are employing our graduates. And also they want to kind of identify the gaps, strengths, and areas for improvement. Because when they do make a decision, they're going to make a decision based on what we do well, how there might be some gaps in what we're doing, and how we can improve. So while we might be able to evaluate ourselves, the reviewers are going to validate those. and make a recommendation. Okay, one of the key aspects of what's driving and is the backbone of our self-study report is our strategic plan. I urge everyone to familiarize yourself with our strategic plan, whether you're interviewed by the review panel or not. This is really the guiding document for UDSC. It's our identity. I was going to go through this, but I think I'm going to skip over it. So what does UDSC strategic plan actually represent for us as an institution? Well, and this is actually true for any university strategic plan. They might have different names for it at different institutions, but in general, strategic plans are the university's identity, its roadmap for the future. We describe in the strategic plan where we're going to be heading to, what we're aiming to achieve, really, and how we're going to get there. And there's a time frame in the strategic plan that's outlined. And then the foundation of institutional alignment, resource allocation, and performance assessment is also outlined in the strategic plan. So not only are we're making claims in the strategic plan, but how do we plan to get there, and how do we measure whether we got there or not? Okay, here we go. So what does our strategic plan align with, and how is it implemented? Well, the Qatar National Vision 2030, we are aligned with that Qatar National Vision. I imagine a lot of higher education institutions in Qatar are, because it really just informs what we do. We are graduating students that need to align and are ready to go into the workforce that is identified as areas of knowledge-based economies like Qatar, state of Qatar. It guides academic, operational, and quality assurance activities across all our business units, so not just our colleges, but other business units as well, operational ones. And success measures that are found in the strategic plan are used to monitor and report progress towards the strategic priorities. So there's an aspect of accountability that you'll find in the strategic plan that is informed by success measures, which are KPIs, and we measure across those to see if we're actually doing what we've meant to do, and we're responding to those strategic priorities. So we've got your vision, your mission, your values. We've got the strategic priorities. We have action items that are then informed by these success measures, which are our KPIs. Really important, and I can't stress this enough. I'm sure you all know these, but this is really the cornerstone of UDSC, our vision and our mission. These are waved in and embedded in the self-study report, because every time we talk about what we're doing for our teaching and learning, we refer to our mission, because we, as an institution, we advance applied science, quality applied science and technology. We're talking about our programs. We're talking about the applied nature of our programs. We talk about research and how it's developing and helping the socioeconomic development of the state of Qatar globally as well. So we talk about the SDGs and how we are aligned with the SDGs, etc. So a lot of what we do is informed by our mission and our vision. We have values, as you, I'm sure, are very familiar with our values. We are about integrity, quality, sustainability. Those are all outlined in the strategic plan. And I want to talk a little bit about how we have a strategic plan. Now it's about actually aligning it with the NCQA standards. And the standard working groups that we have created that are working on the self-study report are essentially doing this. They're really mapping the strategic plan to the NCQA standards. So our university strategic plan provides a framework for achieving the outcomes of the accreditation standards, and institutional accreditation validates that the university's strategic planning and assessment processes are effective, evidence-based, and mission-driven. So we are meeting the standards through our strategic plan, and the NCQA is looking at our strategic plan and how we're meeting the standards. It's kind of like the cycle that you see here. And this slide just kind of maps it a little bit more closely. So if you look, you've got these different standards and how they map to the different strategic priorities in our self-study report. In our strategic plan. Okay. I've got an example here for you from our strategic plan. We have what we call strategic priorities, and you'll find those in the strategic plan. There are action items and success measures. When you're looking at the standards in the NCQAA, you'll see that there are specific standards like 4, which talks about delivering on the mission. The focus areas, teaching and learning, and the review criteria, which I spoke about earlier. There are 48 review criteria. This particular one talks about degree programs and how we are evaluating the relevant curricula, that it's adequate in content and length to help the students gain the knowledge, skills, and competencies that they're required to have. And then, of course, enhancing our academic excellence also talks about excellence of academic programs, ensuring relevance to emerging technology market needs, local and global workforce expectations. So there is alignment when we are responding to review criteria. We reference our strategic plan because we are actually aligned with what their expectations are from the NCQA. Yes. Which one? I went too far, didn't I? Yeah, this one. Now, the Qatar National Qualifications Framework 2030 is our strategic plan is aligned with that. The NCQAA is going to expect us to show and represent evidence that we are aligned. Sure. That's right. NCQAA? That's right. So let's read it. So strategic priority action item 1 says, enhancing the excellence of academic programs, ensuring relevance to emerging technology market needs, local and global workforce expectations. Yes, that's right. So let's look at this. We're looking here, teaching and learning. We're saying NCQA wants us to respond to this specifically about how all degree programs have current and relevant curricula with adequate content and length to equip students with the knowledge, skills, and competencies appropriate for the field of study and level of the degrees in alignment with the Qatar National Qualifications Framework and stakeholder needs and expectations. When we're talking about the NQF, the NQF, the Qatar National Qualifications Framework, all our programs are aligned on that NQF. So when we're responding to this, we are actually referring to all our programs and how they're mapped to the NQF, because that actually is informed in our strategic plan. But also, when we're talking about graduation, achieving employment, these KPIs right here are also really talking about the relevance of our curricula and how this curricula is adequate in length for the students to be able to then achieve 70% employment rates. So there is a connection, and that's the kind of alignment that we're doing when we're responding to these review criteria. We're outlining to the NCQAA that this particular review criteria is informed by our success measures. And how we measure this is actually a response to the ADRI model, I think Dr. Muthanna spoke to about earlier. So the results and the improvements of these success measures is how we're responding to the review criteria. Does that make sense a little bit? Yeah, Do you know about other countries' qualifications that, like, it's like it tells you like what level a master's is at, or a PhD, or a bachelor's degree is. So we're aligned with those, and then it'll tell you about what the learning outcomes are for each of those programs. So UDSC programs are aligned to those Qatar National Qualifications Framework. Yes. Yes. Yes, very good question. We, in the self-study report, we go back to the academic year 2021-2022 to the current semester, if data is available, but definitely to last year's academic year, so 24-25. So we're covering 21-22, 22-23, 23-24, and 24-25, 4 years of data. In theory, yes. Yes. And we do have program cyclical reviews that are being conducted right now. Very good point. But keep in mind, we're not a new university per se. We existed before. We had a history before. So we're yes, we are a university as of 2021, 2022, but we existed before. So a lot of we had students before. So yes, you are using yes. When we became a university, there were scope for us to use some of the existing infrastructure, existing operations, policies, procedures that were there from before, and mainly because we also had students here that kind of transferred over from programs that were under CNAQ to UDSC. Yes. Yeah, so program-wise, we do have international program accreditation. We are more than ready for those because we've actually achieved those. So this is actually the natural next step, I would say. Any other questions? Yes. Yes. Program accreditation, such as the one that you're talking about, what I would call professional accreditation, they inform part of the self-study report. So the self-study report does actually ask what programs you have that are program accreditation, globally accredited, and we do list those and we do speak about them. In the program review, we do two types of program review. We do annual program review and cyclical program reviews, and embedded within that paperwork is a lot of the external review that's being done, like ABIT. The AACSB, as you said, if we had an MBA, it could be AMBA, it could be EQUIS, it could be a lot of these different accreditation bodies that come in to accredit our programs. We essentially have to do a mini self-study report for those programs. And they do become part of the larger institutional self-study report. But it is a little different. So if you remember earlier today, Dr. Matana was talking about how focused program accreditation is and how it's different from this. This is at an institutional level. So when we talk about student learning outcomes, they are program-based, but there are some graduate attributes that every UDSC student should have before they graduate. Those are kind of at an institutional level. Yes. Us, as institutional effectiveness, as a directorate, we're not responsible for we're not doing any program accreditation. Those are happening at the college level, yes. Yes. And the deans would know about those. Associate deans, I think, or assistant deans. They would be the ones to speak to about those. Any other questions before I move on? No? Okay. Faculty and staff engagement. So what we really want to, the message that we're trying to get across to all faculty and staff is really promote and spread the awareness of the importance of this project. We are very proud to be going through this process. So if you hear about it, you talk about it, please promote the accreditation process that we're going through and how really this is about quality of our education and enhancing the value of our degrees. Promote discussions and awareness at faculty and staff meetings. And when you're called upon, be prepared to meet with the review panel members when they're on campus. And in order for you to do that, we strongly recommend that you familiarize yourself with the following documents, those being the NCQA standards, our strategic plan, as I had mentioned. And there is a session, I think today, about policies and procedures. These are really important because they are the backbone of our institution. It's how we do things, how we operate. So there is a site link of all our policies and procedures. Familiarize yourself with those, especially the academic ones, the student affairs ones. There's quite a few policies there that we've recently updated. And then know about the changes that are happening within your respective colleges and business units. Because the more awareness you have, the better prepared you are to speak about the lived experiences and practices at UDSC. Okay, and I have a quick quiz. Before I go into this, this is just kind of a final note. Is there any other questions, comments? I know I've threw a lot at you, and it's the afternoon. Everybody wants to go home, so I'm going to run through these really quick. Yes. There is a website link that talks about our institutional accreditation. I believe it's on the intranet. So if you have access to our intranet, there is a website link there where we talk about the institutional accreditation under Institutional Excellence Directorate. You'll find information there. Okay. Which of the following best describes the overall goals of NCQA's institutional accreditation? Any ideas? We try to make these easy, given it's the afternoon. So is it to rank institutions nationally based on student enrollments? No. Is it to ensure institutions meet national standards of quality and demonstrate continuous improvement across all operations? Yes, okay. Ensure institution programs meet national standards of quality. Now, describe the overall goal of NCQA. This actually is right, but it's not the overall goal of NCQA. Rank the institutions nationally based on academic programs. No. All right, B. Next, reviewers expect to see evidence that demonstrates what? Consistent examples of best practices from across the institution. Fair mapping of standards and consistent deployment, analysis of results, and continuous improvement across all units, all business units. Only quantitative data with no qualitative input. Boy, I would hate to read a self-study report that only has quantitative data without any narratives. Both A and B, maybe. Anytime you see both A and B or all of the above, it's a good chance that that's probably the right answer. What is the primary purpose of the review team site visit? Is it to evaluate faculty performance and assign rankings? Boy, I hope no one chooses this one. Gather specific additional information and evidence about institution for triangulation. Gather sufficient additional information and evidence about the institution for benchmarking. role to benchmark. Provide training to faculty and staff on the NCQA standards. No, that's my role. That's right. They are looking to triangulate the evidence that the claims we're making in the self-study report. Okay, what is the primary focus of UDSC's mission? Are we to advance research, postgraduate studies in theoretical science? Prepare students for the workplace through applied and technical education aligned with Qatar's national priorities? Promote sports and cultural activities among youth aligned with Qatar's national priorities? You know, if they saw our sporting facilities, they probably think this is actually, we're doing that indirectly, aren't we? To establish international best branches across, establish international branches across the GCC. Maybe in the future, who knows? But that's right. Prepare students for the workplace through applied and technical education aligned with Qatar's national priorities. Do you have any more? UDSC strategic plan aligns most closely with which national vision? This is also embedded in our strategic plan, but is it a national vision? Qatar National Vision 2030 is the national vision. Informs our programs. Which of the following best describes the link between UDSC's mission and its strategic priorities? We talked a little bit about the alignment of the strategic priorities, success measures, strategic plan. Is the mission to provide the purpose and the strategic priorities translate that purpose into measurable outcomes, KPIs? Is the mission to provide the purpose, the strategic priorities focus on academic excellence? Is the mission temporary while the strategic priorities are permanent? Or is the mission does the mission provide the purpose, the strategic priorities focus on student success? You would be right. Right. Our mission provides a purpose. Our strategic priorities provide the measurable outcomes. During the site visit, reviewers aim to identify, among others, budget allocation across departments, student recruitment challenges, and the institution's strengths and areas for improvement, or all of the above. And because you're all faculty, I'm sure you always have these multiple choice. Never put all of the above, because that's the one they'll always choose. No, I'm kidding. It's easy, but yes. They're going to be looking at all three aspects of those. That's it. That's my presentation. Thank you so much for coming this afternoon. Any questions? No? They haven't assigned them yet. They'll be from other institutions. I thought you were going to ask me who's on the standard working group. I was going to say we have a star amongst us today who's a chair of one of the standard working groups. Dr. Khalid is the chair of one of our standard working groups. Yes. Would you like to join us? You're welcome. No, it's not.